The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Oh, well, hi. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We're off and rolling, late as usual. However, it's 100% on me this time. But we welcome you guys in. Justin Kenner, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tisdett with you here. Casey McAllister in the producer chair. But we're off and rolling. You know, if we didn't start late, I don't think we'd ever start at all, to be quite honest. I think we're, a month and some change into the new year, and I think we've started on time one time.
That was a good day, though.
That was a very good day.
That was a really, really good day.
Very good day.
Maybe one day we'll start on time again.
One day, but not today. So we'll have Reed's going to come in and take over coming up here in just under a half an hour. But we got still a couple things to dive into, of course. We'll talk some NFL, talk college football, a little bit of Reds as well. But we'll get to all of that coming up around the corner. But let's shoot it over to our guy, Elliot, as Elliot has us all set for Elliot's headlines.
Oh.
Score updates, breaking news, local and national headlines. Whatever's going on in the world of sports, Elliot has you covered. Off the Bench brings you Elliot's headlines.
Way too much confusion today.
Way too. You're right.
Whistle would have thrown it all off. It would have been bad news today.
Would have been very bad news. Headlines. College basketball last night. Xavier, don't let them get hot. They win the rematch with Georgetown 74-69 at the toss. Dalen Swain led Muskies with 18. Zach Fremantle and Marcus Foster each had 17 points. Foster added 13 rebounds as well. The Muskies look to stay hot at noon on Super Bowl Sunday against Villanova. So if they keep winning, you win out, they're in. So they got to win, I think, 7 or 8 more. So go Muskies, go, I guess.
Reed Mouse undefeated at the toss this year?
Yes, he is.
Wow, impressive.
Arizona, they win on the road against BYU 85-74. UCLA, they have now won 6 games in a row since the Mick Cronin post-game rant. 6 in a row. They beat number 9 Michigan State at home. Auburn, number 1 team in the country, they win by 28 at home against Oklahoma. The Hoosiers of Indiana, they fall to 21st ranked Wisconsin, 76-64. 14th ranked Kentucky, they went on the road to play 25th ranked Ole Miss, and they were destroyed. 98-84. They showed a little bit more fight in the second half. They were down 23 after the first 20 minutes of this game.
Maybe they did care about that Arkansas game, despite how much the fans and
I think they did.
Players and coaches said that it was just another game.
They have now lost 4 of 5. Good luck to Kentucky. 12th ranked St. John's, they hung on to beat 11th ranked Marquette 70-64. They were 17 for 31 at the free throw line. And Casey, Rick Pitino in the post-game interview of this had this to say about his team's free throw shooting.
You control yourself with, I know the free throws, you just ignore it and keep plugging.
Yeah, inside, I want to kill myself. Outside, I just say, that's okay, we're going to make the next one.
The league itself, I mean, you've been around the country, it's so competitive. What a great effort by their club, understaffed, foul problems, but you rose to the occasion.
Shock is a terrific coach. Marquette's a great program. You look at the Garden, Billy, you know it back in the old days. This is what St. John's was all about with Louis.
Right.
So we got it back now. We can't lose it for the rest of our lifetime. You and I are going to live about another 30, 40 years, so we got to stay in there.
How about a quick on Lewis and Richmond?
RJ is a great talent, and certainly, I know he went to Seton Hall, and we were lucky enough to get him. But he was so well coached at Seton Hall, we got a finished product when he came to us. So I'm really, really happy for Kadari, playing great basketball, tremendous competitor.
I'll tell you what, you got.
Listen, if I had a coach that spoke with that much honesty, I'd be in a much better place. I'd be in a much better place. But unfortunately, that's not the way the cookies have crumbled for me.
How do you think Rick Pitino would handle being the coach of a team with the free throw shooting of UC?
He would have quit a long time ago.
A long time ago.
He would have quit. He would have quit the program right there. What do we have? Going to the NBA. Sorry, that was it for college basketball last night. NBA, the Celtics, they beat the Cavaliers, Kinner's Cavaliers, 112-105. But Donovan Mitchell did put Kristaps Porzingis on a poster. So if you go by who had the best dunk, Cavaliers. Who won the game, Celtics.
Regular season, what matters more? Having the best dunk in the game or getting the win?
Absolutely the dunks.
I think so,
Absolutely
too.
the dunks.
Yeah.
The Rockets last night, they blow a 4-point lead in the final seconds to lose 99-97 to the Nets. The Mavericks, here we go. They're now, don't let them get hot. They're now 0-2 since trading Luka. It's championship time. Every season ticket holder can sell their tickets back to the team. Nobody has to show up to the games anymore, and they won't win anymore. 0-2 since trading Luka. They lost to the Sixers 118-116. They were getting blown out. They fought a little bit, but Joel Embiid dropped the triple-double, and that was that.
Joel Embiid saw someone get traded for not being like a buttoned-up player, and he's like, I got to get back on the court.
Yeah, an injury-prone player, a fat guy. Joel Embiid's like, you know what? I'm going to get in shape. This is going to be my second half of the year. The Lakers, they're now 1-0 since trading for Luka. They crushed the Clippers 122-97 last night. LeBron, 26, 8, and 9. And I don't think he really even played in the fourth quarter. So
this is 40.
Unbelievable. This is 40. Pat Riley, this is a good one. Pat Riley has come to an agreement with the NFL for the rights to the word or phrase three-peat. Interesting nugget. He bought the rights, or he got the rights to the word or phrase three-peat before he went for his three-peat, which he did not win. So he has the phrase three-peat up in lock and key, and he didn't even win the three-peat. So he's got, I guess, an agreement with the NFL, so the Chiefs can say three-peat after the refs hand him a victory on Sunday. Speaking of the NFL, the Rams, they are willing to eat a portion of Cooper Kupp's contract in a trade. So for those like the Cincinnati Bengals that are maybe looking for a wide receiver, the Rams are just going to pay for the contract, or at least a sizable portion of it, to make the trade worth all of our time. So that's good news for us.
That was the hang-up we had yesterday when we were talking about it, is what that money would be coming in. I mean, it's $20 million each of the next 2 years. If you're bumping that down to 10 or so, I think there's real conversations to be had with a whole new group of teams.
When
you're talking about where Cooper Kupp could go. So I still don't know if the Bengals are realistically in the mix for that, but certainly cracks the door open if they're willing to cut that contract in half or so.
Oh, yeah. It's and by the way, and this is a good nugget from Jacob this morning, 8 years. It has been 8 years since the historic 28-3 comeback in the Super Bowl where Tom Brady and Julian Edelman shocked the world there. Unbelievable game. I remember where I was for it. I was in, shout out to my friend Zach, we were in his basement, and I think we all debated, because I think it was Lady Gaga performing that halftime show. We're all like, after Lady Gaga performs this halftime show, we're just going to go home. I mean, this is over. We stayed, and unbelievably, it was probably the greatest comeback in professional sports. So
I know I'm only 23, not old in any sense of the word. This is the first kind of stuff that's making me feel old.
Yeah.
8 years ago today, 28-3, I remember that like it was, last year, 2 years ago. I mean, it's clear as day in my mind. And for it to be 8 years ago, and another anniversary that was yesterday, 10 years since Post Malone dropped White Iverson.
Unbelievable.
A formidable song in my life, and obviously not even the genre he makes anymore.
No. Unbelievable. NHL news, not a ton, but Ovechkin, now 17 goals away from passing Gretzky. He scored on an empty net last night, but those count too. They win. The Caps win 6-3 over the Panthers. Maybe he'll do it this year. I don't think so, though. I think it's going to take one more year.
It's going to be really, really cool whenever it happens.
Yeah.
So there's people trying to take away from it that, he's just playing. The Capitals have, kind of thrown their organization away since that Stanley Cup to get him this record. I don't care. No one thought this record was breakable. And the fact that he's even this close and everyone kind of unanimously thinks he's going to get there, barring some kind of freak injury before then, it's really, really cool that he's going to get this done.
Absolutely. But those are your headlines.
All right, Elliot's headlines again off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube.
We got breaking news during the headline segment.
What?
Breaking news during the headline segment. We got another NBA trade.
What?
The Milwaukee, it's a big one too. The Milwaukee Bucks are trading Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, and a pick swap to the Washington Wizards for Kyle Kuzma and Patrick Baldwin.
How about
so
that?
Kyle Kuzma and Chris Middleton swapping teams, 2 former All-Stars. So
How about that?
a new big three, if you will, in Milwaukee. Damian Lillard, Giannis, and Kyle Kuzma.
Kuzma's still good, right?
He's certainly not dressing that weird anymore, so that helps. That helps, even if he's not as good. You don't talk about him as much. But Chris Middleton, you got to be pissed. Going from Milwaukee, playing with Giannis, competing for championships. Now you go live in D.C.
Going to the worst team in by far the worst
Maybe professional
team.
sports.
Yeah, I don't know what the Wizards have ever done, so yikes.
That's fun, though. A little breaking news during the headlines.
Yes. I'm trying to see. Kyle Kuzma's been in the league for how long?
A while. Longer than you think.
Since high school. It's been 8 years. 8 years he's been in the league.
Now, real quick, and by the way, Casey, I sent you a clip from the Xavier game, so if you could pull that up here in a second. I want to get to that in a moment, but I want to go back to a point you guys made about the NBA. You guys made the joke about Joel Embiid all of a sudden sees a player get traded and all of a sudden decides that, hey, maybe I better get my ass out there and start playing hard at this point. This is why I love what that trade did in the NBA, because I actually think that that's a thing. I think that the biggest complaint about the NBA is that the players, literally, we talk about how the Players Association in Major League Baseball, that there's no stronger unit than the Players Association in Major League Baseball. And what's wild about the NBA is I don't think the Players Association is pretty strong, but I think the players are even stronger than the Players Association, if that makes sense. You can't tell players what to do. You have no control over the players. They literally control where they go, when they play, how long they want to play, when they want to play. It's ridiculous where they want to play. And I think that the biggest frustration that's growing within the NBA, and I think a lot of the reasons people tune out of the NBA is because we're tired of seeing that. There needs to be a little bit more structure. We talked about how it seems like there's no structure in college athletics and college football especially. I think the NBA feels that way at times too, where the teams have no control and the league has no control. The players get to do whatever they want. They don't have to work out. They don't have to get in shape. They don't have to follow team rules because, hey, I'm the star and you got to do what I say. Although that element exists in a lot of sports, there has to be some kind of middle ground a little bit, and I don't think that exists in the NBA. I think what the Mavericks did, we could sit here and bury the Mavericks and talk about how horrible of a trade that was. I think if you poll all the NBA owners across the NBA, although they're pissed that they didn't have a chance to trade for Luka, so they're probably annoyed with that, I bet you they love the fact that an NBA team stood up to a player and said, hey, we're going to do it our way. You're not going to do it our way. We're going to get rid of you. It may have been kind of silly and kind of goofy the way they went about it, but I do hope that players take notice around the league. I do hope that. I saw Kevin Durant. His response is that there's a double standard for the loyalty, amongst players and teams, and how when teams do it, it's okay, but when players do it, they're the villain. I'm like, are you kidding me? How is the players have been abusing the NBA for years now, holding teams hostage, fan bases hostage. And the one time that a team stands up, now they're the bad guys. I can't get on board with that. I hope Joel Embiid took notice. I hope other players take notice. And I hope that the players start to realize that maybe we do have to do our job because we just might be held accountable. No one's taking the Mavericks side on this, but I kind of am. I'm kind of happy to see a team stand up to a player for a change because I think the NBA is the worst at that of all the professional sports.
I think there's some confusion in the NBA regarding some of these players and the term loyalty. It's like I understand what they're kind of saying, but it's sports. Like I don't know if they just figured out that it's sports, but it's a business. It's always been a business. We can sit here and say it's loyalty, yada yada yada, but I mean at the end of the day, a team is going to do whatever they have to do to put the best roster out on the court. And if that means trading you away, that's what they're going to do. I saw the Dennis Schroeder quote. It's absurd. I saw this one. It's absurd. I wish there was probably a better understanding of how sports worked.
Going back to another headline of yours, you talked about the Xavier game last night. How about this? The Xavier fans, well, they must have got a little mouthy because Cooley, the head coach for Georgetown, well, he needed to keep his cool a little more. He tried to whoop the ass of a fan at the Xavier game. Take a look.
Folks, what a game tonight between these two teams. Micah Peavy with extraordinary effort.
Ed Cooley and a fan are going at it. Ed Cooley and a fan are face-to-face down in the baseline. Malik Mack and Thomas Sorber were down there, too. A couple of the Georgetown assistants come in and box him out of there. And Xavier ends this game with a little mix-up between a Xavier fan and the Georgetown staff.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, how about that? Fans getting a little mouthy, and the coach had enough.
Yeah, I listen, I think the post game he said he was standing up for his guy. Somebody said something about one of his guys. He was standing up for his player. I have no issue if that's what the case was. There's no way of knowing what the guy said.
I need the transcripts.
Correct.
We need the
transcripts. At the end, doing that at the end of the game is pretty tough, though. So I don't know. I don't read too much into that.
Well, I know you poke fun at Cincinnati's coach all the time, Wes Miller, because he always says he's pissed off. He's always pissed off. I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off. Well, there's being pissed off, and then there's what Ed Cooley just did, where he was willing to take his anger out on a fan in the front row at the Xavier game. But, yeah, Xavier continues to roll, obviously. But, all right, if we talked with Jason Fitz yesterday, he's at Radio Row, and there's a lot of clips floating around of, the players being made available to the media, and a lot of interesting questions being thrown at a lot of the Chiefs players. And I'm here to ask you guys, if you had a chance, we're going to step away for a few, but if you had a chance to ask Travis Kelce a question at Media Day, what would it be? If you had a chance to ask Patrick Mahomes a question at Media Day, what would it be? Two funny incidents has happened yesterday at Media Day, and we'll have those clips for you when we come back. More Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers next. Justin Kenner, Elliott Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. Casey McAllister in the producer chair, and then warming up in the bullpen right now, getting loose. Reed, he's going to step in and take over for me coming up here in about 10 minutes, nonetheless. But this is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. If you had a chance to go to Media Day and ask any question you wanted to Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes, I wonder what that question would be. Well, I know they're getting a lot of questions thrown their way. Couple funny questions that they weren't happy about. I mean, Patrick, well, this is supposed to be like a little feel-good week, and they got a couple weird questions yesterday that, of course, the do-gooders in media pull the credential of that reporter. This is absolutely ridiculous. I found it pretty funny. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I have a feeling you might find it pretty funny as well. Here's a clip from media yesterday. A very important question was asked to Patrick Mahomes regarding, of all the people that has helped him win football games throughout his career, which one's his favorite? Take a listen.
Patrick, for your whole career, you have had so many great people help you win. So who is your favorite ref?
That's hilarious. All the refs are great, man. All the refs are great. They do the best they can. And go out there and play the game the right way.
Is there one that you give a Christmas card to every year, possibly?
Not that I can remember. I'll have to talk to some of my teammates and really try to figure it out.
Patrick.
Good for Patrick Mahomes. He tried to play it, he played along. He at least answered the question. But is that a question you would have asked him? I feel like that's the hard-hitting journalistic questions that I think we all wanted to ask Patrick Mahomes.
I think I would have. I don't know if I would have gone that hard into it because they were going. I don't know who this guy was, but he was going pretty hard at Patrick and Travis. I probably would have framed it a little bit differently, but yeah, I probably would have.
I would not have. I didn't like that video. I thought everyone, getting on the guy, asking for his credential to be gone is pretty much where I stand. I don't think that's the place for that. I don't like the one to Travis was way worse.
The one to
Travis. I think if you do the Patrick Mahomes one, I think that's, okay if you leave it there. I wouldn't do it, but I think it's fine.
I wouldn't have doubled.
The one to Travis crossed the line, in my opinion.
I wouldn't have doubled down, too. Like, he asked the question, and he's like, what can I get you for, or what are you going to get him for Christmas?
Yeah.
It's like, all right. I would have framed it a lot differently.
Also, if you hate the Chiefs as much as this guy seems to, you're really going to poke the bear on Super Bowl opening night? I mean, it doesn't seem like the smartest decision.
I don't know. Do we know who the guy is? I saw he was a Boston radio guy, but there was no.
I don't know.
There was no confirmation. But the second one's way worse. Do we have the second one?
Yes, we do.
One. So that was the first one, of course, to Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce. So Patrick Mahomes, to his credit, you could tell he was irked, but he played along. He kept moving along with the question. He even answered it. Travis Kelce, not so much.
Travis, what do you love more, Taylor Swift or phantom 15-yard roughing the passer penalties in the playoffs?
That's a good question. Anybody else?
I can't believe you you guys have a problem with that. I found it hilarious. I thought for sure you guys would get a kick out of that. Jacob, I can't believe you're appalled by it. You want to pull his.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think there's an opportunity to ask guys questions at media day. I think there's a lot of people that would kill to have that opportunity, and you go and you do a bit for social media clicks. Not where I would take that, but kudos to him. It worked. Everyone's talking about it. It's going viral.
I have no issue with the first one if you frame it like clearly that guy was I don't know who that guy is, but he did it for the TikTok, he did it for the bit, and it worked. Like he accomplished his goal. Travis handled that perfectly. That's probably what Patrick should have done too. Just said good question and then just completely ignored him. I thought it was like it's funny, like it's silly. I don't think it landed. I wish you would have framed it a little bit better, but it's all right.
We all work in the bit industry, if you will. I think it was a good bit. I think it worked, and good for him for having the cojones to do it. I don't think he broke any journalistic standards by any chance. I don't think he made it personal. The Taylor Swift thing was borderline.
Oh, he absolutely made it personal.
He asked about his girlfriend.
The Travis Kelce one was absolutely personal.
But if Taylor Swift's a nobody, it's one thing. But, asking a general question about Taylor Swift, the NFL loves Taylor Swift being the talking point of any content that's out there. I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it nonetheless. But Media Week will continue. What's that?
I'm certainly never going to ask anybody about their girlfriend, wife, anything like that. I feel like that was the line that I didn't like being crossed. But to each their own. He got his clicks. He did his job.
I'm just bummed because I really did want to know which phantom 15-yard penalty was his favorite. I think we could put a top 5 list of these phantom penalties together to put a top 5 ranking either way. But again, Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, ESPN 1410, Wing AM in Dayton. I want to go back to something you brought up during headlines. The Cooper Kupp thing came out that we talked about it lightly yesterday, obviously available for a trade. And it's not just that he's available for a trade, it's the fact that they're willing to eat some of that contract. And Jake, you said it earlier, that changes things a bit because that opens up the door. I think that invites more teams into the conversation to kick the tires on Cooper Kupp. Is Cincinnati one of those teams? Because I know the T. Higgins thing is exhausting. I think I think if we put a list of all the topics we've done on this show, this one's probably right up there at the most talked about ones. I know Charlie Goldsmith said last week that the most tired talking point right now is Ellie De La Cruz. I think T. Higgins is well above it. But I think until the Bengals truly let us know what their decision on him is for the future, whether it is letting him go, whether it is tagging him again, whether it is getting an extension, these questions are going to continue to be thrown out there. And this Cooper Kupp thing, yesterday you guys said, well, this offense needs 2 number 1 wide receivers for it to be able to run efficiently, so why would you let T. Higgins go? Well, if there's a way to get a second number 1 type of weapon in there at a cheaper cost, and you move on from T, and then you can use the money you save to allocate to other holes on this roster, in theory, this technically sounds like something that makes sense. The problem is, in theory, this is a very aggressive move, and I don't know how aggressive the Bengals are. We talked yesterday about the biggest trades in our team's history and the biggest wow moments. I can't believe our team made that trade. We started thinking about it. Not that we didn't know this already, but the Bengals don't make trades. I find this scenario unlikely, but I also think this is probably the most realistic solution if they didn't want to marry T. Higgins long term, bring in a Cooper Kupp for a much cheaper option to fill a season while they try to find a number 2 wide receiver in the draft. I don't know. I'm just curious. Is this something from a fans like you guys as fans? Is this something that you're just talking about because hey, it sounds fun as a fan, or is there some legs to this? Is this a legit possibility, a possible solution, if you will, for the Bengals?
I don't think it's a realistic possibility, but it's it is something that fans will talk about, to your point, and we're gonna get excited about stuff like this. Can we get Garrett? Can we get Kupp? Can we get all these guys? The answer is probably no, but let's just talk about it and have some fun. I honestly don't even want him. I respectfully to Cooper Kupp. He's coming off a terrible year. Terrible is maybe too harsh, but the back half of that season, he was essentially written out of that offense. 0 big catches in the final several games of the year. So I'm good without him. He had a hell of a 2021. Outside of that, I'm all good. I think he might be a solid wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. for another team out there. He's just not a good fit on the Bengals right now, especially not to replace T. Higgins, if that's where we're going with that.
I 100% agree. I think the only way the Bengals were to add Cooper Kupp is if they lost all their marbles and added him with T. Higgins. And I just don't think Cooper Kupp's a replacement for T. I don't think he's an outside receiver. I don't think he fills the need you have if you lost T. Not to mention, he's only played 2 full seasons in his career. Granted, those 2 seasons are the only 2,000-yard seasons of his career, and one of those 2 is one of the best wide receiver seasons in the history of the NFL. But nonetheless, 2 full seasons in his career, not exactly what I want to gamble on, a 31-year-old primarily slot receiver, staying healthy. You know, I have no doubt that he'd be good in our offense. It's basically the Rams offense. Taylor obviously came over from there. There's the nuts and bolts of that, and we've seen slot receivers succeed before. Tyler Boyd, 1,000-yard season a couple years ago, but I just don't want to give up draft capital for Cooper Kupp in what would be probably a 2-year rental, maybe even a 1-year rental before you traded him or moved on from him. 31 years old, pretty constrained in what he's able to do at the wide receiver position. It's just not a move that would really entice me, especially if it's a T. Higgins replacement.
What if the Bengals have decided T's not coming back? T's not coming back. Is this an option then? I know it sounds like I'm asking the same question, but like, if we're framing it as, oh, we want Cooper Kupp so that we can move on from T. Higgins, but what if the Bengals are deciding to move on from T, whether Cooper Kupp's part of the plan or not? Then all of a sudden, is this a realistic move? Because we talk all the time in the NFL about quarterbacks, like we call them bridge quarterbacks. Is there another? I don't think there's any other position where we don't say bridge running back or a bridge wide receiver, but could this be considered a possibility of a bridge wide receiver? Because if they can't afford to extend T long term, and you don't want to do the fully guaranteed second, putting the tag on him again, could Cooper Kupp be a realistic bridge wide receiver? Still take a wide receiver in the draft, still be have to start making a plan for who that's going to be moving forward. But it fills that void in the meantime at a cheaper rate and allows you to move dollars elsewhere. But you don't like it either way, it sounds like.
I think it all comes down to what the draft compensation would be. If we're moving off of T. Higgins, I don't want to give up a third-round pick for Cooper Kupp. I just don't think he fills the role T. Higgins is leaving. So to add him as the replacement, I would rather go get a quote-unquote worse wide receiver who's an outside receiver that can play that T. Higgins role rather than go get a guy who's primarily in the slot, because not only if you add Cooper Kupp would he be your slot receiver almost all the time, but that removes the opportunity to play Jamar there. And we use Jamar out of the slot quite a bit in Cincinnati, and that's where he has a lot of success, especially with the screens and the motions. I know a lot of people hate those plays, but he breaks them for 75-yard touchdowns at least 2 or 3 times a year. So I think not only does Cooper Kupp not fill the T. Higgins role, but it takes away some of what you're able to do with Jamar Chase. I like it less if you let T. Higgins walk.
Yeah, I was going to say the only way I'd like it is if you're bringing T. Higgins back, the Rams are paying all of his contract, the Bengals trade a second or a third, whatever it's going to cost, and he's our wide receiver 3. Then I'm in. If that's the case, then I'm in. But if it's him replacing T. Higgins, it's not worth it. And not to mention, if the Bengals aren't going to pay T. Higgins, they're certainly not going to pay a guy, like as Jacob said, who's not going to stay on the football field.
Well, guys, any guess of who the team that's favored to land Cooper Kupp is? Any guess of who this team? It's not going to surprise you. You're already laughing. You already know who it is.
I didn't even see it, but I know who it is because you're asking. Do you want to take a guess?
No, I don't.
It's Pittsburgh Steelers.
Is it really?
Yep. According to Bovada, they are plus 115. They're the favorites to land him. The other teams that are in line to land Cooper Kupp potentially in the AFC, you have the Chargers. And then the 2 NFC teams that could potentially land him, who have the 3rd and 4th best odds. Baker Mayfield's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then the Lions at plus 750. So, but the Steelers and Chargers are the 2 favorite teams to land Cooper Kupp. And I think he makes a lot of sense with the Chargers, especially if they can get him cheap. The Chargers, they reallocated dollars around last year. They cut Keenan Allen. They moved on from Keenan Allen. They moved on from a lot of contracts on the offensive side of the ball, and then they put all their money on defense. So now they're willing to spend money on offense, but it's not like as if they have a ton of money to spend either. They have an expensive quarterback, a lot of expensive pieces on defense. I think Cooper Kupp makes a lot of sense for Justin Herbert and the Chargers if they decide to pull the trigger. But I don't believe Pittsburgh. I'm tired of seeing Pittsburgh's name at the top of every top wide receiver that's available. I mean, they just love playing hard to get, or they just have no intentions of really pulling the trigger on one of these deals.
The only reason I don't think the Chargers would trade for Cooper Kupp is because what we saw at Ladd McConkey this year. And he's almost exclusively a slot receiver as well. And I don't know if you'd stunt his growth, or if they think they'd stunt his growth as potentially an elite wide receiver in this league for 5-10 years for just 2 years of Cooper Kupp. That's the only reason that I would be a little hesitant if I was the Chargers to make that move. But obviously they're going to be in the receiver market. Obviously Cooper Kupp is one of the top receivers available if he is, openly on the trade block. So it wouldn't be a crazy move, but I would just be really interested to see how they make that work with two undersized, really only slot receivers. You'd need Quentin Johnson to really, come through this year.
All right, this is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Elliot Rinn, Jacob Tissett, Casey McAllister holding it down in the producer chair. But it's time to make our call to the bullpen, because I think our guy Reed's ready to step in. And is he ready to step in?
I sure am.
There you go.
Hey, how's it going?
The voice. Your voice is like a mix of Fergie and Jesus, my friend. Good to hear from you. But well, I got to bounce. I appreciate Reed stepping in, and the crowd goes wild. I'll see you guys tomorrow, but the show goes on. Appreciate you guys. Talk then.
Adios, Skinner.
So do we go to break?
Now we go to break.
I think you got to send it.
I got to send it to break. All right. We'll be right back on 1410 Wing AM. Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Reed Mouse, the relief pitcher today, coming in for Ken Doggy. He what a whirlwind that was, because he asked me last night at 6, and I was like, I can come in after 30 minutes. I didn't know he was doing the first 30 minutes. We got an opener,
and I certainly didn't know any of it. So
we were in the dark.
I knew nothing. But yeah, it's a little bit miscommunication. That's all right. We roll on here. You were at the toss last night.
I was. No place rocks like the toss.
No place rocks like the toss. I've been, a couple times this year. Listen, it's a good time. I think back-to-back home games where Sean's like, yeah, the crowd was the reason we won the game. So you did your part.
We did our part. It was a little more quiet, but as the game kind of evolved and it got a little tight in the second half, it started to get a little more rambunctious. I put the tweet out about where I was sitting, and someone said, you got to get better seats. I think it was Kevin. And I was like, I got tickets from Paul. Shout out Paul. So thank you to that. But respectfully, I sit in the same place every game. I mean, if I had front row, first lower bowl, I'd sit there. But if it's top deck, I just go up to the Norwood Cafe. It's my favorite place to watch a basketball game.
You like that?
I like standing bar areas. I've petitioned that the Reds should do that at Great American Ballpark. I don't know if any of you guys have been up to Cleveland's ballpark, but their entire right field, from the foul pole to shallow right field, is just standing bar area, no seats. It's just rows of bars, standing bars, and it's rocks. And I wish they would do that. I think the Guardians also have a monthly package that you can buy.
Oh, really?
You can pay, it's $20 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you get standing room only tickets to every game. And I was
awesome.
Granted, if you spend $20, is that what it's going to cost to go to every Reds game you want to go to?
Yeah,
anyways?
probably.
I was you probably spend about $4 or $5 every time you want to go anyways. But it's all cool. It's all cool.
Opening day tickets go on sale for season ticket holders today. We're getting close to baseball.
Are you still a season ticket holder?
Hell yeah, I am.
All right. So all right, good for you.
I'm supporting the boys.
What's your season ticket package? You a 20?
20.
I really should just do that. I don't know why I don't do that.
You can get the vouchers and just use them for the game.
Do you get to pick your 20, or is it
they pick your 20, but you can move them? Like, you can just email them the week before and be like, I can't go to that game. I'd rather go to this game. They'll just move the tickets.
Oh, really? That's cool.
It's very, very nice. If you leave 48 hours, 72 hours, they'll move the tickets for you. It's awesome.
Is there some kind of structure to where you get 3 weekend series, 2 division game? Like, is that how they do it?
It's split up. A certain number of people have those 2 seats or whatever, and it's split up so you get the same amount of divisional series, the
Weekend
concert
series,
games, like stuff like that. Those
They make
are all
it nice and easy.
Yeah. So all the packages for the seats are the same value, is what they say.
The only time, speaking of seats at Great American, the only time where I felt like a true sucker is I went to Bark in the Park night, fell on my birthday like 2 years ago. And I was like, I love my doggies. I'll take them down to the ball yard. And I went to Bark in the Park night, and you have to buy tickets for your dog.
Sure do.
And the tickets aren't cheap. It's not like where you can just get, we'll sit wherever. You have to sit in one area. And it cost all of like $50 per person.
Really?
Like you got to have one person per dog, and it was like $50 for the pair.
Wow.
So I spent $100 on taking my dog.
That's something else.
I hope they enjoyed it. I hope Rookie and Rizzo enjoyed going to the ball yard because it was a ridiculous.
Are Rookie and Rizzo Reds fans?
No.
They've been to more Reds games than Cubs games.
That is true, and Mets games because that's what they played that.
Oh shoot!
So
they were probably happy about Soto.
I've been to Bark in the Park days. Like I don't bring my dog, obviously. What happens when your dog takes a dump?
They have, so
Like
I'm
turf.
not kidding you, they buy sod. They buy, like, you know what sod is, right? It's just grass that rolls out, and they roll it out, and they have like 10 different areas of just sod laid out that they can go pee and they can go poop there, and then I assume they just wrap it up and throw it in the trash, and that's the end of that. So they just buy sod for the day. And didn't see any fights with dogs.
That's good.
I don't know how that would work. Like, if you get in a fight with a dog, you get kicked out.
You get thrown out.
I was gonna say, because you're
Yeah,
not.
you get
If your
ejected.
dog's aggressive, you just don't bring him out in public.
Yeah, usually you just hear eruptions in the concourse during Bark in the Park games. Just dogs losing their mind.
Oh yeah.
Nate asked, "Is my dog Rookie named after Reds legend Rookie Davis?"
Yes.
No, he's named Rookie after Jamar Chase, who was Rookie of the Year. He was supposed to be named out. He's supposed to be named Bryant. Then we traded Chris Bryant. So that was that's why he's Rookie.
Rizzo's named after future Reds legend Anthony Rizzo.
When people come up to me and ask if my dog is named after the woman that gets teenage pregnancy in Greece, I don't care for that. I don't care for that. He's wearing a Cubs collar and a Cubs bandana, and they're like, "Oh, after the Grease character." You're like, "Yeah, you killed it. You knocked it out of the park. You got nothing gets by you. Nothing gets by you." All right, let's talk sports.
Well, real quick, Drew Garrison, $5 super chat. Reed hosting days must be celebrated.
Nice. Thanks, Drew.
And celebrate we shall.
The running joke is that when I host, we're supposed to get 6 segments. Right?
That's right.
Running joke is that when I host, I plan 5.
Sure.
Today, when I'm only supposed to do 4, I pretty much planned 0. So let's rock and roll, baby. We're going to do a little buy or sell. And I did 2 different buy or sells. And one is regarding the Super Bowl, and then the other is regarding baseball. We'll stick to the Super Bowl because that is this Sunday. So we don't have lower thirds or anything like that.
Yes, we do.
We do?
We do.
All right, let's rock and roll. The first one is, with a win, the Chiefs are the best dynasty in football history. Buying or selling?
I'm selling with a win. I'm buying that this is
they're
on their trajectory, and this is crucial for it.
Okay.
I think in order for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to be the GOAT and the Chiefs to be over the Patriots dynasty, they need to match the rings, or they need to do something that the Patriots haven't done, and that's a three-peat. So if they get the three-peat and they fall just short, I think you can have that debate. But without the three-peat, I still think they would need one more with the three-peat in order to be the GOAT.
I don't think they would. I think this would pretty much establish it. They've been to 5 of 6 Super Bowls. Really, I mean, I know the Bengals did their part, but I mean they've been as dominant as a team could possibly be. With the three-peat, something that the Patriots never accomplished, it's something that nobody's ever accomplished, I think it does. And to be quite honest, I don't even care if they'd match the Patriots, because I just think what they've done like up until this point. Did the Patriots ever make 6 straight AFC Championship games, 7 straight?
I think they
think so.
did.
Was
This-
it
the second?
I believe the second
time they did?
Second time.
It's like I've never seen a team be as dominant as the Chiefs have been in terms of like I can't explain it, but like the Patriots were very good, and Tom Brady obviously was incredible. I just think that the Chiefs are more regarded as like the scary villains opposed to the Patriots. I could be wrong, and they used to call Belichick Darth Vader, and I get all that. There's just something about the Chiefs like right now. I feel like they're the most hated team that we've ever seen.
So it's something funny. I think Casey, our ace producer, just looked it up. The Patriots made 8 straight AFC championships
From 2011 to 2018.
Okay, so they made 8 straight, so that's pretty impressive. I think that the Chiefs probably will do that. The thing that is funny about everyone hating the Chiefs more than the Patriots is I don't know what that's based on, because do we forget what the Patriots were doing? Right. They had the most curmudgeon coach ever. Seemed like a genuine displeasurable person to be around. And on top of that, they got caught cheating twice.
Yeah.
Like, actually, not like, oh, I think they cheated. No, they got caught and got in trouble for cheating twice. They were spying on our Cincinnati Bengals, which I'm not going to tell you how to cheat. But, I mean, why are you spying on us? Like, what are you going to gain from that? We're the Bengals. Like, what the heck was that? So they got caught Spygate for us, and then they deflated footballs in the wet. Like, they were actually cheating to win. We do the thing about, like, there's collusion amongst the refs for the Chiefs, whatever. The Patriots were actually cheating.
We also did that with the Patriots, right?
What?
The ref collusion thing?
We
had this conversation about the
definitely
Patriots, too.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs are viewed more as hated in Cincinnati because we weren't really competitive when the Patriots were good. And it feels like the Chiefs are stopping us a little bit. And since we're actually in the mix, it allows us to hate the Chiefs a little bit more. But I'm sure if you asked like Steelers fans that were up there, and Colts fans and all that, they would hate the Patriots just as much.
Well, here's the thing that I keep... Other than the Bulls, everyone loved the Bulls when they were happening. Everyone hates dynasties while they're happening, but the second it's done, you're like, oh, that was pretty rad.
Yeah.
Like the Warriors. Take the Warriors, for instance. They get KD, and they're like, they're the evil empire. We hate them once again. Then it got over, and you're like, I don't know, Steph seems kind of likable. Clay seems kind of likable. We did the same thing with the Patriots. Once Tom Brady went elsewhere and kind of got to see more of his personality, you're like, oh, this guy's all right. All right, maybe that Patriots team wasn't so bad. Here's what I'll say about this question right here, which is with a win, they'll be the greatest. I think, yes, I am buying that they are the greatest dynasty. They'd be the first three-peat, like everything for Elliott said. And part of the rationale for that is I consider the Patriots 2 dynasties.
Okay, then that's fair.
They had a 10-year break in between winning.
That's true.
Between winning a Super Bowl. I can't, in good faith, combine that into one dynasty, even though it's the same quarterback, same coach.
Then
so
I
it's
would
the same player.
Probably agree.
Yeah, if you
split them up, I would agree.
Right, this is the best. It'd be the first three-peat. It'd be the first time that it'd be the first 4 and 6, right? No one did 4 and 6. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive. All right, buying or selling that Saquon Barkley is the most important player in this Super Bowl for their team.
I think he's the most important player for both teams. I'm buying this for sure. I think Jason Fitz laid it out pretty perfectly yesterday. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to play great for the Chiefs to win. I think we've seen that time and time again, that they've won when he hasn't put up elite performances. Not that he's not an elite quarterback. He certainly can put up that elite performance, but he doesn't necessarily have to. And I think the same goes for Travis Kelce and Chris Jones and literally everyone on the Chiefs. I think they're well coached enough and have enough guys that can make plays that they can do that. I don't think the Eagles can win this game without a big game from Saquon Barkley. I don't think if the Steve Spagnuolo can make Jalen Hurts throw, they're not going to be able to win this game. So I think Barkley is absolutely the most important player.
I think that he is, no question about it, for the Eagles. I think he's the leader of that team, and I think without him, the Eagles don't really have a shot. Saying that, Patrick Mahomes is the most important player out there, and I know it's like it's easy to say that, but I just think if Patrick Mahomes plays even a little bit like we know Patrick Mahomes can play, this game will not be close. This game, I think that it's the Chiefs to lose at this point, and if Patrick Mahomes shows up in a way that he really hasn't during the regular season this year, to his point, he hasn't had to, But if he shows up like he did in that last Super Bowl against the Eagles, they're going to win this game by 20 points.
Here's the thing about Saquon and Patrick, both the guys that you said are the most important players. I think you know exactly what you're going to get from both of those players. Even if the Chiefs have a great game plan for stopping Saquon Barkley, I still think he's going to go for 130 yards, probably score. Like, he's going to have a really good game for a running back, 150 yards, whatever it is. He's going to be a major beast. And you know what you're going to get from Patrick Mahomes. He's going to make the plays when push comes to shove late in the game, and he's going to score just enough to keep the Chiefs around, and then it's going to be the final drive, and then they'll probably score and win. So those are known quantities. I think the most important player this weekend is Jalen Hurts, because that's not a known quantity. You don't know what you're going to get with Jalen Hurts. A little banged up. He's got 2 weeks to recover, and he's not the most consistent player ever. If Jalen Hurts plays well, I think the Eagles win. If Patrick Mahomes plays well, they might lose. If Saquon Barkley plays well, they might lose. If Jalen Hurts plays well, the Eagles win. It's as simple as that. I cannot see a scenario in which Jalen Hurts goes 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and rushing in 2 touchdowns, whatever it is, whatever the quantity of Jalen Hurts playing well is. If he plays well, the Eagles win point blank. Because I think if they lose, there's going to be a pick in there. I think if they lose, he's going to miss a wide open throw, or he's not going to get it done late in the game. So if Jalen Hurts plays well, they win that game. I think he's the most important.
How well does he have to play? 304, touchdown, 70 on the ground, 3 touchdowns last time wasn't enough.
Man, I hate when you put stats to
because he had the best game of his career last Super Bowl against the Chiefs.
But that was also a different Eagles team that didn't revolve around their running back.
The running backs in that game combined for 40 yards. So you're absolutely right in that sense.
I think Saquon's going to go for 140, 150.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be a major part of this. So, yeah, I think anywhere near that, they win.
Okay.
If Jalen Hurts goes anywhere near that stat line that he had last Super Bowl, they win. All right, buying or selling. This is a good football question.
This is a good football question.
Kendrick Lamar will play Not Like Us multiple times.
Buy. And I wish you put a real line here, because I think I'm going over like a handful. I think he's going to wring that sucker out until he can't sing it anymore. I think the real question is, does he censor it? Does he censor the line everyone's excited to hear him sing? And I don't think he's going to say it. I think
it's just going to
flip the mic to the crowd.
Yeah.
They're all going to say it. That way you can get out of the defamation lawsuits when those inevitably come. But yeah, over 1.5, no question about it.
I think he's going to open with it and then close with it. I think it's going to be. That's what I think will happen. I think he'll open with it, go to new songs, and then come back to it at the very end.
What if he just plays it?
Just
the whole time.
Then that would be great. That would be great. There's never been a bigger blowout in the history of anything than what he did to Drake. Good for him, I guess. That song won more Grammys than I think Drake has in his entire career.
That's true.
Five Grammys, Drake, which is incredibly surprising because Drake seems like he makes music to win Grammys.
Drake doesn't submit his music to the Grammys because he is anti-establishment.
Yeah. Drake seems anti-establishment.
That's what he says. That's what he says.
What a ridiculous notion. That's almost as ridiculous as when Joe Burrow said that he doesn't like he doesn't like attention. He doesn't do the whole dress up thing. When someone asked him what his Halloween costume was going to be, he's like, I don't do the whole dress up thing. He's
Top
like,
hat to the Super Bowl.
You wore an alien mask last Halloween. Yeah. Like just a year ago. We have pictures of this, guys. Like it's Drake. What a silly. I'm taking the under. I think it's gonna be one time. I think it's gonna be broken up. Like I think he's gonna sing a verse, go to another song, and then the beat picks back up and goes back to it, and then he finishes with it, similar to what Elliott said. But that's a good football question. Then the final buy or sell I have for you guys regarding the Super Bowl. Buy or sell, Andy Reid joins the Mount Rushmore of coaches with a win.
Absolutely does. He's already there, and I think this cements himself as one of the greats. This would be his 4th, right? This would be his 4th Super Bowl. Bill Belichick has 6. That's right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, I don't know.
This would be 4 for Andy, yep.
How many, has anybody done 5? Has anybody gotten 5 Super Bowls, any coach?
What's the Niners coach that got 4, right?
Putting me on the spot here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. But no, I don't think anyone's gotten 5.
How many did Shula win? Shula won a couple.
We got to get our crack producer. So you're saying that he's already on there?
I think he is.
I see now.
He's 4th in wins.
Now I got to look.
He's over 300 wins.
I got to look.
So you guys in this in this office know this take that I've been workshopping.
Belichick has 6. Chuck Noll has 4. Andy Reid has 3.
And
Bill
then a
Walsh.
bunch-
Yeah, so
yeah, a bunch of Bill
absolutely.
Walsh has
If
3.
he wins this, he's literally top 3 all time. Mount Rushmore. That's 4.
Okay. I think I'm selling this because I think he's already there. Like I think he's already on there. But if you guys have been in this office like these two have, I've been workshopping a take. Do I believe it? No, I do not. But I like saying it because I like the reaction it gets. So here's the take. Patrick Mahomes made Andy Reid's career, not the other way around. And I've got like some decent points to back it up. The 10 years as a head coach that Andy Reid had before drafting Patrick Mahomes, he had 1 playoff win. 1 in 10 years. Made it a lot with the Chiefs and at the end of that Eagles run. But he had 1 playoff win. He drafts a generational quarterback, and all of a sudden he's winning all the time. Here's where it gets juicy. Is pre-Patrick Mahomes Andy Reid Mike Tomlin, but worse?
The but worse is the doozy there, but I think so.
No.
He'd been to one
Before Patrick
Super
Mahomes, he hadn't been to as many Super Bowls. He had never won one.
Don't do this.
He had less playoff wins. Nah,
was
he might not
fired.
have had less playoff wins. But he got fired from a job.
Yeah, he got fired from a job because he couldn't win the big game. No matter how
He only went to one
They
game.
wouldn't win.
He only went to the big game once.
Reminds me a lot of the current Steelers.
So 18 years as a coach, made 1 Super Bowl, didn't win it.
Then you have a guy no one believes in fall in your lap at pick 10.
That's right.
You're the GOAT.
It's also crazy to think about. If that didn't
This is
work
a
out,
first
he's
take
canned.
debate.
Like he's canned.
Yeah.
He would have been
After they moved on
fired
from Alex
at
Smith,
the end of that year.
That
if
clock was ticking.
Right. He would have been fired at the end of Patrick Mahomes' first year if he wasn't as great as he was. Because I try to put myself in different, put myself into the mind of fans when things happen. Can you imagine being a Chiefs fan and you made the postseason 7 straight times with Alex Smith and you're like, man, we're just so close. We just got to get over the hump. And they draft a quarterback that had a sub 500 record and in the top 10 picks. And you're just like, what the heck are we doing? Now, obviously it worked out, but I just think the majority of the people in this room that are watching this show right now, listening to this show, would have been absolutely pissed when that draft pick happened. I think about that all the time. That maybe fans shouldn't run teams. maybe there's a reason that we shouldn't run teams. Now, would we do the Luka trade? No. So maybe sometimes fans should run teams.
That's fair.
But I just think it's crazy to think that. Yeah, that's a take that I don't necessarily believe in.
You got some support in the chat.
Do they like it?
You have some support in the chat.
I just don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Xander Cruz said that's a fair take.
Okay.
Right as soon as you said it.
Okay. Reid turned the Eagles franchise around. That's a good point.
I don't think you've done anything for the Eagles franchise.
Nice. I can't see Nick Sirianni holding up the Lombardi Trophy on Sunday. I can't. I hate him so much.
If the Eagles win on Sunday night, Elliot and I, we're taking Monday off. It's going to be 2 hours of Reid apologizing to Nick Sirianni because he's never been more wrong if the Eagles are able to get this win.
Here's the thing about Nick Sirianni. I was wrong. Already am wrong about Nick Sirianni as a football coach. The only thing I've got when it comes to my Nick Sirianni take,
Big Tom,
is that when it ends, whenever Nick Sirianni's tenure ends in Philadelphia, it's going to be a fiery blaze. It's going to be so ridiculous. It's going to be awesome. And he might win 3 Super Bowls before that happens. He might get there. But when it happens, it's going to be just a glorious blaze of fire. And that's the only thing I'm going to take quote-unquote solace in is when that happens. You hate my Nick Sirianni take so much.
I hate it. I hate what you just did with Andy Reid, and I hate what you do with Nick Sirianni. But that's okay. This is a sports talk debate show, and that's what we're doing here. We're debating things.
Supreme debate.
And I got a story I just found. This was sent to me just now, and I think it might have just swayed me to bet on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh no.
Oh God.
I want to go to break. I want to go to break real quick, and we're gonna come back. That's a tease, generational tease I just did there. I just found a story that's going to make me bet on the Philadelphia Eagles. ESPN 1410 AM, Reed Mouse, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing, Casey McAllister. We'll be right back in a second. Yeah. Welcome back. ESPN 1410 Wing AM. You know what station you're on because you're on it. Chatterbox Sports Off the Bench. I saw this story. It was just sent to me. I saw this story. It's a very heartwarming story. Obviously, something very, very bad happened in Philadelphia this past weekend with the plane. The plane, crashed into Philly and hurt a bunch of people.
Yeah.
There was a kid that was involved in it, and this, I think he was a 10-year-old kid. He was out getting donuts with his dad and his sister. The plane comes down. Shrapnel starts flying everywhere. Metals starts flying everywhere. The little kid guards his sister. Shrapnel hits him in the head. He goes into surgery. They had to do surgery on his brain, I believe.
Oh, my.
He woke up. The doctors did a great job. They saved him. They fixed him. He asked 2 questions when he woke up. This is a little kid. He woke up and he said, first, did I save my sister? Mm-hmm. Second, did I miss the Super Bowl? I might bet my entire life savings on the Philadelphia Eagles because of that. The kid is a diehard Eagles fan, and now I might just have to bet it. The dad said, "No, you did not miss the Super Bowl."
We're gonna get that kid to the Super Bowl if he's allowed. I don't know what his recovery.
We?
No, I'm saying like
NFL,
not like us.
I
mean like us as humanity.
Yes, yes. I thought you were putting that on my plate.
The kid needs to go. I mean, the kid needs to go to somebody get that kid to a Super Bowl.
If he's allowed out of the hospital.
Legitimately, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
That is neat.
Shout out to Trey Howard.
No, that's awesome.
Philadelphia fans, for as crazy and ludicrous as they can be, golly, they are the shining example of like just fanatic is.
Yeah.
Like literally the sense of the word. They are absolutely crazy. They love their teams. I mean, the other story is that guy that was saving children a few years ago from burning fires,
like Aguilar,
and he's like, I'm catching the babies as they're getting thrown out of the house. Unlike Aguilar, it's just like he is saving human beings' lives, and the only thing in his brain at that very moment is how crappy their wide receiver is. Like, think about how much they love sports in that town. It's truly great. I've never been to Philadelphia. Have you guys ever been?
Yeah,
I've been one time. So we went for the American Conference Media Day. And we did the Rocky Step. We did the whole thing. I thought it was pretty cool. The limited time I was there, I would like to experience more of it. I'd like to go to a baseball game there. I'd like to go to a sporting event in Philly to experience what it's like. Because they are the craziest fan base.
But not when they're playing like the Reds or Bengals. I want to go and root for Philadelphia.
Yes.
Just get in the muck.
I don't want to get attacked.
Yeah, I've been a couple times. One of my roommates in college lived in Philly, so I went and visited him. It's a really cool city. A lot of historic stuff like downtown, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I've got to get there sometime. It's far. I didn't realize how far away it is because it's basically on the it's on the coast, almost there, right? So it's quite a ways away. But I've got to get there at some point. Citizen Bank Park looks sweet. What's is the football field called the Bank too? What's the football?
Lincoln Financial
Lincoln
Field.
Financial.
The Link.
The Link, and then it's the Bank for the baseball field.
Then they play at Wells Fargo for basketball. It's just Bank City.
I was gonna say money running through there.
They have an unbelievable sports complex where it's all three: basketball, football, and baseball.
Is it in the heart of downtown?
Not quite downtown,
okay.
But they have like massive, like it's called Xfinity Live, like bar with big TVs and everything right inside, huge tailgate lots. It's one of the cooler stadium setups in a major city I've seen.
I'd like to go. You know what I'd like to go for in Philly is the basketball when the 4 teams play each other. When Temple, Villanova, when they say what is it? It's St. John's. No, St. Joe's, Villanova,
Marquette. No, not Marquette. You're right. Sorry, I'm wrong.
Temple, and then I think the final is it just Penn? Is Penn the final team? Who's the 4th team in that? The big 4 from Philadelphia. Someone help me out there on that final team.
I was there when Ben Simmons didn't shoot the layup against the Hawks, and I think the entire city of Philadelphia just tried to kill him in that moment. And it was one of the craziest events I've ever seen. As someone who wasn't a fan and kind of removed myself, they lost their mind. I was at that game.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
It was unbelievable. They tried to rip his head off.
Oh, what a terrible decision.
I think someone said it's Penn. It's just Penn. Okay, so that's the 4th team. It's not Duquesne's in Pittsburgh. All right, so let's switch on over to baseball here. Baseball time, because we're going to talk Picota for the last hour of this show, because I know Elliot.
Nothing gets me fired up like talking about something I've never heard of, predicting who wins the NL Central.
Well, Bill Picota.
What was his stats, Casey? How many home runs?
Casey,
How many
you were giving background information when it came to Pacoda.
Yeah, the guy had a career batting average of 249 and had 22 home runs in like a 10-year career.
You've committed these stats to memory.
Yeah. And I believe he had a WAR of 9.
Casey,
never had a negative WAR in his career.
That's big time.
So. When you tweeted me Bill Pacoda's stats, I said it was gibberish because I had no clue what you were talking about. You're just like, I don't know, Reed. He had 20 career home runs and a 9 career WAR. Doesn't seem that great. I'm just like, what the heck are you talking about? But I have been teasing Elliot as much as I can about Pacoda. In fact, I just emailed him yesterday. Subject line Pacoda, and then the email said Pacoda.
That's a pretty good email.
Yeah, so that's how we're using company time, is to email Elliot Pacoda. But no, I have buy or sells regarding the Cincinnati Reds, the National League Central, and things like that I'll put on a tee for you. And the first one is relegated somewhat to Pacoda projections, and that is buying or selling the Reds are the worst team in the National League Central.
I mean, I'm selling it.
Who did you think was going to buy that one?
He's gonna buy it. What do you mean?
Well, that's true, but he does it out of a bit. Like, I'm going to sell it because the Pittsburgh Pirates are in the division, and if you've watched the Pittsburgh Pirates at any point during your lifetime, you know how terrible of an organization they are.
Last time I watched them was in the wild card in 2013.
That was the last time you watched the Pittsburgh Pirates? Yeah, that's about right. Well, since then, they've done nothing. So I'm going to take the Cincinnati Reds to finish above the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I'm willing to bet anybody any sum of money on it.
So here's the thing that I get it, I guess, when Reds fans punch down on the Pirates, but I don't think it's as far down as you think it is. I think it's a lateral punch. I think both teams have been pretty bad in this 30-year run, and the Pirates have been.
I've never once said at any point that the Reds have been good during the same.
But you punch down towards the Pirates.
Sure, because they're just as bad as we are, if not worse. They're just as bad as the Cincinnati Reds.
I think you think of them as a AAA team, and I think they're like.
Well, yeah, because at least the Reds have shown signs of effort. Like, the Pirates haven't shown effort in 25 years, 30 years.
They won 99 games in 2015.
They
beat you guys in the postseason.
They don't pay for anything. They don't do anything. That's the worst owner in professional sports. They literally don't do anything.
It has been a long.
Their biggest contract was what? It just happened. It was I don't even know who it was.
Brian Hayes.
I think so. Yeah, is that who
it's
it was?
the first time they've eclipsed 100.
Yeah, it was. They've never touched it before.
Scheme says he still hasn't been contacted.
Yeah, like I'm good. I'm good with my no stock on Pittsburgh Pirates.
So you think
would you like to buy stock? Would you like to buy the stock that I sold?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You want to buy all my Pittsburgh Pirates stock?
Correct. You think the Pirates are the worst team in the National League Central. I don't think they're the worst team in the National League Central.
I think they are.
I don't think the Reds are the worst team in the National League Central. I think it's pretty clearly the Cardinals.
I agree.
I don't when I saw those projections, everyone, while the Reds 73 wins was by far and the Cubs 91 wins are the most shocking, I still don't understand what I'm missing about the St. Louis Cardinals, because not only do they no longer have Hall of Fame players at the peak of their powers. Paul Goldschmidt's gone. Nolan Arenado's still a fine player, and Yadier Molina's gone. They've got 2 promising young players. Mason Wynn's a really good shortstop. A really, really good shortstop. And Jordan Walker, I think, is going to figure it out. But the rest of the team, Wilson Contreras is a really good hitter. Doesn't do anything else. I don't get the Cardinals coming close. I truly think the Cardinals are going to be the worst team by a good margin. You said the Cubs are not better than 20 games better than the Reds. I think whoever wins the National League Central will be 20. The Cardinals will be 20 games below them.
Wow.
Like, I think the Cardinals are. I don't see the Cardinals at all. And I'm kind of there about the Brewers, but at least I kind of get the devil magic, and I know that the Cardinals have been up there too. Things are getting real sour in St. Louis very quickly.
I think that there's a couple franchises out there that earn the benefit of the doubt when the whole world is not high on them. The Cardinals, for me, are one of those teams.
That's fair.
They're a team that I don't care if they literally don't have a roster. I'm going to still say the Cardinals finish better than the Reds or the Pirates, just because I've seen it. That's a very well-run organization historically. They've
Steelersy.
Huh? Yeah.
It's crazy how good of comparisons there are between our Bengals conference and the National League Central. The Cardinals are the Steelers. They always are good, regardless of who they throw out there. You're just like, what? I don't get it. And then they'll win 85 games. They're just like, this doesn't make any sense. Now, that being said, I think they're going to be terrible this year. And the Brewers or the Ravens, very well-ran organization. Very well-ran organization. The Cubs or the Browns, perennial losers. And I guess the Pirates are the Bengals. Like, the Reds don't have a comp in the AFC North. Like, I don't know what that would be. Because I always, when I talk the Reds to NFL, I compare them to, like, the Commanders. Used to be good 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and kind of just riding that wave. Still a huge, rabid fan base that wants to be good, but they don't have a whole lot to just show for it. I don't think the Reds have a comp in the AFC North.
Maybe the Browns just over the last 30 years.
The Cubs are the Browns.
I'm saying like in our lifetime.
But I don't think the Cubs are. I don't think the Cubs are the Browns.
I don't either. They won a championship.
Yeah, they recently.
Sure. Yeah, very
recently. So it's like I don't. I think it would be more related to that. But yeah, I listen. If we want to say the Reds are the worst team in the Central, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you right now, that's not going to happen.
Okay.
There'll be at least one team behind them, and I'd bet every dollar I have on the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, the Cardinals thing. I understand what everybody's saying, why everybody's down, and they're in a rebuild mode. They're in tank mode. They haven't tanked. Like, they haven't sold any pieces. Goldschmidt left, but that's it. Like, everybody else is still there as of right.
Well,
as of
what's
right now.
there?
Well, nothing. But I'm just saying, last year they were still. I mean, they were like not great, but they were average.
This is their depth chart on Fangraphs. This is who they're projected to play. Their starting catcher is going to be Ivan Herrera.
Not great.
First baseman's going to be Wilson Contreras.
Very good.
Very good. The guy who they have having the most plate appearances from second base isn't Brandon Donovan or Nolan Gorman. It's Thomas Segassi.
Don't know who that is.
Correct. Their shortstop's Mason Wynn. Great player. Third baseman's Nolan Arenado.
Very good.
Okay, and then their outfield is Lars Nootbaar, Victor Scott, and Jordan Walker.
Lars.
And then you're going to see Alex Burleson, Brandon Donovan, Nolan Gorman fitting around in different places. They play multiple places, but I don't see it. So you say that the Reds, there's no way that the Reds are the worst team in the National League Central.
Barring injuries, yeah.
So let me ask this in a buy or sell
completely healthy Reds roster.
The Reds are significantly better this year, buying or selling. Significantly better. And you can phrase that however you want.
They won how many games last year? They won
78.
78,
right?
78? Was it 78 or 75? I thought they went down. Somebody find me how many were games the Reds.
I got scrolling. 77 and 85.
Okay, so 77 is 5 games significantly better.
Yes.
Then yes, they will be significantly better than they were last year. I don't know if they're a playoff team. I'm not going to say they're a playoff team. I'm going to say that they get above 80 wins. I'm going to say they at least have a winning record. I'm going to say Terry Francona gives them to a winning record. They're going to be significantly better. Again, last year, I've said it a million times, they never really had what the vision was before the season.
Yeah.
Like, that vision never came to fruition one time during the course of an 162-game season. If they're healthy from the start, if they're healthy at the end, the Cincinnati Reds are going to have a very good chance at potentially making the postseason. Yeah, I'm going to say they're significantly better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're going to be right around, at least right now, I'm thinking they're going to be right around a 500 team. I think they're going to be right in that low to mid 80s in wins, kind of battling to be right there, 85 or so. And I think that's probably about the ceiling for this team. And I think they're going to win 80 games. So if that's going to be enough to be a significant improvement, then yeah, I'll buy it too.
I don't think they win 85 or 86. I think they're going to win 83, maybe at the very most. I think their ceiling would be 84 for me, personally. But I understand why people have doubts. Like, there's a bunch of Reds fans on Twitter being like, how do you say that this team isn't good enough? How do you say? I understand it. Like, they didn't do a ton in terms of, like, addressing the outfield, which I would argue was the number one goal of the offseason, probably. At least that's what Nick Krall said at the beginning of the offseason. You got to address the outfield. They didn't really do that. I mean, you say whatever you want about Gavin Lux and Austin Hayes. Austin Hayes is an okay outfielder. Gavin Lux is an infielder. So that's our outfield additions, on top of the fact that TJ Friedel struggled mightily last season. Whether or not that was because of injury, again, up to you. Jake Fraley struggled mightily. Again, a lot of off-the-field stuff that battled that. And you had Spencer Steer, who had an okay year. He was a serviceable player. I would say one of the Reds' best players, ironically. But I think they've done enough this offseason to help it out to where they can get to 500, maybe a little bit more.
So you'll be responsibly wagering on the over 78.5?
No, I will not.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to get. I don't want to get too excited. I'm not going to get too excited. I was very excited coming into last year. I'm not going to do that again. I think so based on what I see on paper, that they're good. If the starting pitching staff stays healthy, if we're able to use Nick Martinez out of the bullpen because Rhett Lauder comes up and he's fantastic, yeah, I love our chances. But there's no way of knowing until the season starts. So I'm not going to write myself into the 74 win projections. It literally doesn't make sense. They added to the roster and they predict less wins. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I mean, other teams can add to the roster too. It's when you guys are changing, other teams are too. So
sure. But the Pirates, they predicted the Pirates to suck. They predicted the Cardinals to suck, and they predicted the Brewers and to be fair, the Brewers own the Cincinnati Reds and the Chicago Cubs. I think the Reds have done pretty well against the Cubs over the past several years. Yeah. So if you say that's 90 wins, the Reds are getting 8, 9, 10 wins against the Cubs this season.
How many games they play? 14 now, or they play 12? They play 12 now.
I thought it was a little bit more than that.
It used to be 18 before they changed the schedule.
Then 7. They'll get 7 wins at least against the Chicago Cubs, and I'm okay with that.
Here's the thing about the Reds, is they've done a really good job this offseason at raising their floor. Like, they've made it to where this team will not bottom out. And always, the thing that was going to raise the ceiling of the Reds was never going to be free agent signings. It was never going to be trade acquisitions. That was never going to raise the ceiling of the Reds. The thing that was always going to raise the ceiling of the Reds is how well their young players play. Point blank. Elly De La Cruz took a major step up. Hunter Green took a major step up. Can there be more of that? Can there be Matt McClain being what he was 2 years ago, now healthy in a 162-game stretch? Can Nick Lodolo have a healthy season? Can all these things? Can the young players raise the ceiling? Because that was always the plan. Make sure this team doesn't bottom out, fill in the gaps, and then we're going to raise the ceiling, hopefully, with the young players that are here. And that's what we'll see. That's what we'll see. I'll give the Reds kudos for raising the floor significantly. Now it's up to the players on the field, the young players, to raise the ceiling. That's what it was always going to be, and that's how it is. And here's the question I'll ask while talking about those young players. Matt McClain is the most important player for the Reds this year.
I think Reds fans are putting too much pressure on Matt McClain. They're asking him to do too much this season. And obviously that's a Reed bit, but I think to a degree it's come true. I think a lot of pressure is being put on Matt McClain, and now you're seeing it thrown out there that he's not even going to play the position that he's played most of his career. They're going to try to have him at third base, and I think to move him to third base or try to move him to third base and mess with his spring training when he's trying to come back from an injury that cost him an entire season, when you're relying on him to be an all-star level player in your infield to be even relatively competitive, I think that's more than enough to make him the most important Red this year. Obviously, the answer is Elly De La Cruz. Obviously, the answer is health. But I think in terms of what we could do, a lot of that is contingent on what Matt McClain gives us. If he comes out and he's what he was, 2 years ago, then we're going to be a much better ball club than if he, takes a Noelvin Marte step back. I mean, not to be that bad, not to be that extreme, but certainly we've seen that before with guys come up and young and tear it up, and then we see him again and they're not as good. So I think he's absolutely the most important Red this year.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob's right, Reed's right. There is so much pressure on the kid, and unfortunately there has to be, because he has to be good, which makes him probably the X factor for the Reds this year. I know what Elly De La Cruz is. He's a superstar. He's generational. He's fantastic. But Elly De La Cruz needs a Robin to his Batman, right? You need somebody else that's as good as you, can compete with you, and can help you score runs and bring home runs. Matt McClain did that, man. I mean, in a limited time in 2023, he played about as well as you could possibly play. And honestly, if he would have stayed healthy that year, he might have won Rookie of the Year on half a season. So I don't know. I'm going to say he is. I'm going to say he is the most important Red this year, just because, again, we've all known this. You have to have them play up to what we think they can, and what I think Matt McClain can be is again, maybe not as good as Elly, but pretty damn close.
So I'll do this really quickly before I send us off to break. And I think Matt McClain, I try to think. I try to be different. I try to think about the entire roster. I try to talk myself into a take where CES, if he turns into the power hitter that we thought he was going to be last year, if he turns that around and becomes that, he's the most important player. I can't talk myself into anyone other than Matt McClain. I think he's pretty clearly the most important player on this Reds team for the reasons that Elliot said. We know what you're getting with Elly De La Cruz. You know what you're getting with Hunter Green. Can you find that third piece, that third guy that is always going to be an all-star consideration, that is going to be feared in the lineup, that you know every single time that he steps on the diamond that you're going to get high caliber play from. And I think that's Matt McClain. So, yeah, I'm buying that he is the most important Red this season. We'll see it, and we're a couple months away. But we're going to take a short break. This is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farms. I'm Reed Mouse, filling in for Justin Kinner here in the final hour. Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett, Casey McAllister in the room. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, 1410 Wing AM. Reed Mouse. I don't get to do this very often. I always love coming in here. Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing, and Casey McAllister in the room. I do have one more buy or sell regarding the Reds, or it's kind of regarding the National League. And I know you guys have talked about this a lot. And once again, we're looking at, baseball perspectives as Pacoda projections, which have the race not really being that close, but buying or selling that the National League Central will be a tight race this year, because it hasn't been. It wasn't last year. The Brewers kind of ran away. They won by 10-plus games. I think we all thought going into last year that it was going to be 84, 85 wins. I think that was the projection as a Cubs fan. As the Reds fans were looking, I've even asked Trace before. I said, does it make you feel better knowing that 85 wins, which is where kind of we thought the Reds were going to be last year, 84, 85 wins, wouldn't have even got you sniffed? Like, you didn't get there, but even if you got there and you were exactly the team that you expected to be, does it make you feel any better that wouldn't have done anything? Because that's where the Cubs were. They won 84 games last year, and they didn't sniff the postseason. It gives you solace. But buying or selling that National League Central will be a tight race this year.
I'm going to buy it just because I don't think the winner is going to have 93, 92 wins, whatever Pacoda said for the Cubs and what the Brewers did last year. I think the winner of this division is going to have 85 to 88 wins. And I think, if we're talking about the Reds coming in at 84 and potentially finishing third, then you absolutely have a close race. So I'm going to buy it being a tight race, but it's not because I think these teams are going to be much better than they were last year. I just don't think the winner is going to have 90-plus wins.
I agree with Jacob. I think it's going to be the closest division probably in baseball. Maybe the AL Central, the four teams that are worth a damn there, they might be able to be a tighter race than we are. But I do think that, 86 is the number this year. I said it last year and I was wrong. I'm going to say it again this year. I'm going to say 86 is the number. If you can win 86, you can win the Central. I think every team's floor is pretty high. Like, I know we're out on the Cardinals and Pirates and Reds or whatever. I still think those are all 74-plus win teams. I do think that. I think the Brewers, I know what I think of them, but they never lose games. So at some point you just have to believe in them. And I do think if the Cubs, especially if they get Bregman, which we haven't talked about yet, but
we'll get to
if they get Bregman, I think they're the best team in the division, bar none, but do I think that team's 92, 93? No, I don't think they're a 90-win team yet. They blew so many games last season to where I don't know if I can trust their pitching staff. So what I'm going to say is we
got a closer.
It's true. I'm going to say this. I think 86 wins it, and I think every single team in the division has more than 74 wins. So that's about as tight as you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just looking this up because I feel like we say this every year, that the NL Central is going to be really close. Last year, first place to second place, you want to guess how far it was? 10 games.
10 games, yeah.
2 years ago, guess how far first place to second place was? 9 games. 3 years ago, guess how far first place to second place was? 7 games. The last time that it was less than 5 games in a full season was 2019. So that's the last time that the race was very, very tight. Now, granted, we know 2 years ago that the Reds and the Cubs were fighting for playoff spot, granted to be the last wild card. But going into the last month, I think the Cubs were 2 games back of the division. They just had a terrible last month, and the Brewers played very well. Same thing happened last year where the Brewers just seemingly wouldn't stop winning in August and September. So, do I think it'll be tight? It's hard to say something other than yes. It really is. Because as we looked at last year, I did a show with Nick Kirby on Chatterbox Reds previewing the Cubs, and he says, when I look at the National League Central, I can see any team coming in first. I can see any team coming in last. When I look at the National League Central this year, I kind of share the same sentiment. While you always want to poo-poo on the Pittsburgh Pirates, if Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, and Mitch Keller start shoving, I could see this team winning 87 games, 88 games if O'Neal Cruz and Brian Reynolds, and they just get a little more offense. Key Brian Hayes turns into the prospect we once thought he was. If Joey Bart turns out to be the catcher that we think he is, I can see that team winning 87 games. I can see the Cardinals doing some devil magic. I can see the Brewers doing some devil magic because they seemingly never have bad teams. The Reds obviously have some young talent. Now, I do say that I can see any team coming in first. I can't see the Cubs coming anywhere near last. I know I'm a Cubs fan. I just can't see them being a 73-win team unless they just sell everything at the break for some weird reason. So, while I want to be the contrarian, while I want to say this isn't what the National League Central is, normally the team wins by 8+ games, 7+ games, because that's the way it's been for the last 6 years, it's hard for me not to say that it's going to be very tight. So I will buy that it'll be a tight race this year. And hopefully we get 2-3 teams going into September with, aspirations of winning the division. I've said this a long time. I mean, you guys know that watch and listen to this show. You guys that know me know I'm a Cubs fan. My Cubs fandom is so weird because I share it with no one. In fact, everyone hates it. Like my family hates it. My friends hate it. You guys hate it. You guys watching hate it. I don't get to talk to with anybody about it, but they mean so much to me for some weird reason. And it's just such a weird thing. And I've always said that the one thing that I hope for, and it'll be someday, is a Reds-Cubs playoff series. Going to GABP and being the contrarian, and I'd be interested to see how many Cubs fans show up.
I bet there would be more Cubs fans.
I don't know if it would be more, because I think Reds fans would do a really good job. So that you can actually, I think the Padres did this a couple years ago, where you can geolocate where you can buy tickets. Yeah. So like you can make it to where if you live in Kentucky and Ohio, that's the only places you're allowed buying Reds playoff tickets, which would be pretty neat. I mean, there's ways you can get around it pretty obviously. It's you either drive over here or you tell someone that lives in that area, hey, Cubs fans, hey, can we buy tickets over there? But I think that would be an absolute blast. Unless the Cubs lose, then it'd be the worst thing that's ever happened to me. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I have one more baseball question. I know we keep talking about the Dodgers, and it's pretty simple. What would it take for you to just be uninterested? We're going to be right back here on ESPN 1410 Wing AM. Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Reed Mouse filling in for Justin Kenner here in our last radio segment. And I kind of teased it before we went into break, but I was wondering, you get to this point of the year. I know the Super Bowl is this weekend where you can still have, meaningful conversation, but there's so much buzz, there's anxiety, whatever it is, you start feeling emotions about baseball's right around the corner and how exciting that is, especially in Cincinnati where we love our baseball. And I just had a simple question because it's been kind of the topic of this offseason is what the Dodgers are supposed to, what they're doing. And before I ask this question, this is my take on what the Dodgers are doing. I don't hate the Dodgers because they're doing what you're allowed to do. They're not breaking any rules. It just stinks that a team's finally doing it. Hopefully something happens, but we'll see. What would it take this year? Like, where would the point be in this Dodgers season if they do what we expect them to do and be by far the best team in the league? What would it take for you, even if the Reds are playing okay, playing fine, playing right where you expect them to be, and right around 500 baseball, keeping you interested, some good things are happening, some bad things are happening. What would it take for you to just be like, this is stupid? Like, in the middle of the season, what's it matter? Yeah, the Reds are 5 games over 500, but the Dodgers are 56-12.
Yeah.
Like, what would it take for you to just finally just be like, I'm done? And it doesn't have to be a number. Just, like, for me, like, if it's June and the Dodgers have 9 losses, 10 losses, something absolutely absurd that we've never seen before, how can you continue to get interested?
If they break some kind of best start record, I'm going to be pretty quick to getting out. I mean, I think we're already walking towards that cliff of being out on baseball before we even watch them play, with the amount we're talking about it and how annoyed everyone, especially small market fans, are. I mean, if they start the season like 22-3 or something in their first 25 games or whatever that crazy start would be, I think it'd be pretty tough to talk yourself into trying to win a World Series this year. And that's the point you always have with really every sport. If you don't think you can win the championship, then how easy is it to keep watching every game? And if the Dodgers start off, 20-1 or whatever it is, then you start to have that.
22, they'd lose 2 in Tokyo.
22, sure. But you start to think the Reds can't even win the National League, then who even cares? And not that we believe that they can right now, but when you see it on the field and the Dodgers just being as dominant as all could be, then I think that'd be tough. I think it would really start to set in if we get to All-Star and the ballots come out and it's just the Dodgers. Like, you see the graphics where the starting lineup's just the Dodgers and the rotation's just the Dodgers, which it will be. So
you think the fans will raid the ballot box that much?
I think they might.
If they go out, if they do what you guys said and they're dominating this season, then we get to the trade deadline and they add a couple more.
Yeah.
If they get Nolan Arenado just as a bench piece and they just go get, I don't know what outfielder would be able to be traded by then. They get Christian Yelich just because they can. It's like that's the stuff that would break me. And I can't, like, I'm looking at their roster right now. I mean, their infielders.
Where could they add?
Listed. Max Muncy. They can't add. That's the craziest part is they can't add, but they still add. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Miguel Rojas. I mean, I know he's not
what's the Korean second baseman? That's gonna be their starting second baseman.
Yeah,
he was the biggest.
Defensive.
He was the biggest foreign free agent player bat this year.
Yeah.
So
Michael Conforto, Tommy Edman, Teoscar Hernandez, James Outman. Maybe they get an outfielder. Maybe they upgrade one more outfielder.
Getting Michael Conforto to just be a rotational piece in their outfield for $18 million.
It's just not. At some point, it transcends what the competitive balance in sports that makes us watch it. Sports are the best entertainment in television. It's why we all watch it, because it's fun. You don't know the outcome. When you know the outcome, it's not fun anymore. It's not. And I know what we say about dynasties. I get all that. I think it's a little bit different in baseball when there's so much competitive unbalance, where you have the Los Angeles Dodgers spending literally $500 million more than anybody else. It's tough to sit there and watch and be like, all right, I'm excited for this year. I'm ready to roll. The Cincinnati Reds have a shot. They don't have a shot. They don't have a shot on paper. And that's what upsets me. So if they start 35, 40 games above 500, we get to the All-Star break and they add a couple more, it's like, this isn't baseball anymore. This is too far gone. And the worst part about all of it is once the CBA gets here and we have to start dealing with that after the 2026 season, every player is going to want to be a Dodger. Every single player is like, they did their job. Look all you MLB owners. Look right here. They're doing the job. They're paying all of us. They're doing a great job to keep this sport alive. While all you small market owners, you're killing the sport. You're doing a terrible job. And I think it puts a target on pretty much everybody else's back. And again, good for the Dodgers. They've won. Whatever they were trying to win, whatever they were trying to accomplish with all this, you've done it. You've won. You don't have to pay anybody. You're paying Nick Senzel money to the best player to ever play the sport. So that's, I mean, it's for me, it's hard to continue to watch it, and it makes me a little bit upset. The only good news, the only solace I'll take from it is that the Reds only have to play them 7 times a season, and if you have to play them again, it'll be in the NL, it'll be in the playoffs, it'll be in the National League playoffs. So
we'll win 4 of those 7.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been the last one to.
They're plus 200 to win a championship. Plus 200 to win a championship.
The most random championship, by the way.
Right.
Like it's like this is the sport that is the most random. There's a reason.
162 games, 6 months. They're plus 175. That's insanity.
Well, this is what I keep telling you guys is if you want, like, because I know Trace sat up here and did a 45-minute rant. You just did a nice rant about how terrible the Dodgers have been to the rest of the league and everything like that. If you want true change to happen, then you're gonna need the Dodgers to win 3 in a row. You're gonna need them to rattle off, be the best team ever, win the championship, go next year, do it again, to a point where then the other owners are going like, this is stupid. Because that's the only way this changes. If we keep having random teams win it, if we keep having the Rangers win their first championship out of nowhere, if we keep having, just different teams win it, then nothing will change. Baseball has the most number of champions over the last 20 years. More than the NHL, more than the NBA, more than the NFL. Baseball. The one that's broken, right? They've had the most different teams win. We haven't seen a dynasty in this sport. The only sport that hasn't seen a dynasty in 25 years. The Yankees. And before that, it was 40 years. So the sport is supposed to be random. And if you want change, you're going to want it to not be random anymore. You're kind of going to have to need the Dodgers. You just have to grin and bear it for the next few years. Now that's a tough pill to swallow, but that's just what's going to happen if you actually want something to change. If you don't want something, if you just want to keep rooting, which we're all going to do for the Cubs and the Reds and everyone who you root for, then we can do that. But I'm just telling you right now, if someone other than the Dodgers wins the championship this year, nothing's gonna get accomplished in that CBA.
Can I ask you this though? And this is where you say it's going to take 3 championships for something to change. No owner's spoken out against it. I haven't heard.
They're starting to.
I haven't heard a single thing from anybody.
They're starting to. No, they are. There's also a fraternity there to where like you don't.
Sure, but that's part of the issue, right? I mean, that's a part of the issue.
But it's like it's one thing to publicly say something. It's another thing to want to go to the league office and change things. So like they don't need press to kind of get public sentiment behind them to make change, because they can just do it behind closed doors when they have the league meetings. So you don't need to go out and say stuff. You can just say stuff to Rob Manfred behind closed doors and be like, this is stupid. We got to change something. We got to do something about this. We got to implement ways to make this change. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are people speaking out. I mean, like I've said before, these owners are it's wild because owners of big teams, big franchises, the Cubs, the Orioles, I think the Phillies guy said it. The Cardinals said it a couple years ago. They're saying, and the Reds owner said it, that they are working without making profit. That these teams are not making profit. They are just scathing by. They are working, what's the quote from the Castellanis? We are working like a nonprofit. The Cubs do the same thing. They are just trying not to work at a loss. They are just trying to keep their business afloat, and people will look at the valuations going up of each team because every team's valuation goes up. It's not because these teams are bringing in oogles amount of cash. It's because the sport is generating more money, and therefore your valuations go up. This is the same reason, like, I don't think Netflix has turned a profit ever. This is the reason that DraftKings and FanDuel, they don't turn profits yet. It's because they're just trying to get the valuation up. So, like, these teams, I just think it's interesting that these teams are working at a factor of where they say that they're not making money. Whether that's true or not, let's open up the books and find out. But they're saying they're not making money. Then there's teams like Steve Cohen and the Mets where he's like, I don't care if we make money. This is my hobby. I make money elsewhere. There's teams like the Dodgers where like, yeah, we make money elsewhere. We'll just keep spending it on here and just see what happens. So I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. As for the question, what will it take for me to be out? I think I laid it out there pretty early. It'd be pretty silly for me to like I'm talking otherworldly numbers, to where we are 70 games into the season and the Dodgers are 58-12. Like, if that's happening, I'm just going to be like, man, the Cubs, they're hitting 92 wins on that projection pace, but what's it matter?
Yeah.
And I've been the last to kind of break about the Dodgers. I think everyone's broke at some point about it. I've been the last. It's going to feel – I might be the first to break in the season because guess who plays the Dodgers in Tokyo in 5 weeks for regular season games? They're playing for a 2-game stint 2 weeks before the regular season officially starts, even though they are regular season games. Man, if it's 8-1 and 7-2 in those 2 games, I'm going to be really sad at 7 in the morning watching the Cubs play over in Japan. So I might be the first to break when it comes to the Dodgers this year, but we'll see. We'll see. Like I've said multiple times before, for change to happen, you're going to want the Dodgers to champ. If you want a salary cap and you want like significant change, you're going to want the Dodgers to just railroad the Major League Baseball for the next few years. But that's hard. That's a hard thing to ask, to want to cheer for that. Because if the Reds win a pennant, guess what's not happening? There's going to be no salary cap, and the Dodgers are going to get to win 100 games for eternity. It's my take. I think that does it for us on time today, on the radio side. Producer?
Yeah.
All right. Guys, thank you for having me in here. We're going to go to the YouTube side here momentarily, talk about some more things, but it's a fun show. Sorry for the whirlwind of the planning process. I think we got through 6 segments.
Look, we're here. It's 11:45. We've done our duty.
That's right.
We got it. All right, that does it for us. Reed Mouse filling in for Justin Kenner. Kenner did the first 2 segments. I did the last 4. They'll be back tomorrow here on Off the Bench. You're listening to 1410 Wing AM. We are back here on Off the Bench. Radio's done, so it's a YouTube side. Yeah. These guys don't know, but yeah, it was a whirlwind this morning for you guys. I showed up, had a call at 10 o'clock. You guys didn't know that I was filling it. I didn't know that Kenner was going to be here, but it was we get through. I always say, like, you look at other, like, shows and stuff like that, like radio shows here in the city, and they do 3 hours, but no show does more content than us, I don't think. Like, we do 2 hours nonstop of content.
Yeah, I mean, so when I worked at a place that I no longer work for, I mean, it would be, especially if you worked on the 700 side. ESPN side was a little bit different, but 700 side, you'd have the news break at the top and bottom of the hour. That's 4 minutes. You have at least a 3-minute commercial break, 7 minutes. You have a mid-commercial break, depending on which season. If it's football season, that's 10 minutes long. If it's not football season, if it's red season, about 7 minutes long. So it's about, it's about 15 minutes per half hour is what you're looking at essentially.
Per half hour?
Correct. 15 minutes of content per half hour, especially during football season is what it is. Maybe even less sometimes. Sometimes it's like 8 minutes, and it's absolutely insanity. I'd argue, Reed, I think you're right. Not to mention they do other bits too, where sometimes they do. I guess not to shout out our guy Brenneman, but Brenneman and Jones, like that's full 2 segments with commercials in between, before and after those segments. That takes up the last 15 minutes of a half hour. So yeah, I'd agree. There's nobody that really does this. No show, no radio show at least that does anything close to this.
Colin said, talking about where I said FanDuel and DraftKings don't turn a profit, meaning that the house is losing. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, they currently, like, if you look at, like, their sales numbers and stuff like that, whenever they open up a new state, they lose a crap ton because of all the money that they give away. Give you a little taste, right? They dangle. They dangle it out in front of you. Every dollar they have that goes right back into the company. They currently work at a loss. I think Netflix did that. I think Netflix actually might be turning a profit now. All these streaming websites, I think, are hemorrhaging money. I don't think any of the streaming websites are doing, because they're just, hopefully in 10 years they get enough subscriptions that it all works out. So.
Not to change the subject completely, but I'm going to change it a little bit. Reed asked us yesterday a question that, and I wanted to ask the chat because I think everybody should have an opinion on this.
Yeah.
Would you rather, and this was asked with complete sincerity, would you rather win the World Series?
Yep, that's one. That's one of the options.
Or would you rather go 0-162?
Right.
Now, I said World Series.
I also said World Series.
And I think
Can you explain your choice?
Huh?
Can you explain your choice why you'd rather win the World Series?
Yeah, because I would want to be the best
team
for a year
in the league.
Okay. Does winning the World Series mean that you're the best team in the league?
Yes.
Yes.
Does?
Yeah.
For that year.
Because I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it means you win the championship. I think the team that wins the most regular season games is typically the best team in the league, which is why what we talk about is what does a championship mean? Like, I don't think the team that wins the NCAA basketball tournament is the best team in college basketball more often than not. I think it's the most random championship. But, yeah.
You said you would like to go in 162.
I think it'd be really unique to go 0-162. I think that'd be the first time that's ever happened. It seems literally impossible. It seems very possible to win a World Series because it happens every year. Like someone wins.
To
the
me, it
World
actually feels more possible that the Reds would go 0-162.
I think the odds on that would be very close.
That the Reds win a World Series or
if you're looking at Pacoda projections.
yeah. You only got to swing like 60 games.
The Pacoda projections. And here's unfortunately I've made my opinion on it so known that it's going to be continued to be brought up for the next 6 months, which is really what's like in month 5 when we're in August and the Reds are terrible. Reed's going to bring up those Pacoda projections, and it's going to make me start slamming shit because that's what's going to happen. I'm just going to start.
Wait, sorry, you're saying when we're like in August and the projections are on pace?
On pace,
correct.
yeah.
That's what I'm
and then
upset.
maybe they're not worthless. Like maybe they have some validity to them.
That's the bet I make. So I'm going to bet that the Reds win more, and I'm going to be here, and I'm going to say that the Reds aren't going to finish 20 games below the Cubs.
Well,
What
like
if you're right
here's
about
the thing.
projections, but the Reds finish 30 games below the Cubs. Like the projections are really bad, but the Cubs win 100 games and the Reds win 60.
Yeah, that'd be devastating. That'd be devastating.
The thing that's also going to be funny is if like the Reds actually do come around that projections, there's going to be built-in excuses for why that's happening. Like there's going to be injuries. There's going to be like, I didn't know that Matt McLean was a bum or something like that. Like he's like playing terribly or someone gets suspended or someone gets traded or whatever it is. There's going to be some reason why the Reds are finishing up around 73, which I will just then retort is like, it's baked into the projections. That's just Pacoda. They know that stuff. And you're right. You are gonna get so mad. It's gonna be.
It's okay. I'm gonna be okay with it, and we're gonna move on. But I just think it's silly to say a team that's objectively done. I would say made a sizable amount of roster moves to say that they would win 3 less games. It doesn't, and especially in a division where they're projecting that the teams to not be very good outside of the Chicago Cubs, a team that arguably, maybe the only team the Reds have had sizable success against over the past 2 years, for all of that to accumulate to 3 less wins after last year just doesn't make sense to me. But
yeah, here's what I say about the Cubs 90 game, because I know everyone looked at that and was like, what? 90 wins for the Cubs? If you look at the math, the Pythagorean theorem, the Pythagorean win-loss and all that stuff, expected win-loss, basically on how much offense you put out there and how much defense, right? How many runs you score and how many runs you allowed. The Cubs should have won 90 games each of the last 2 years. Like their expected win-loss, their Pythagorean win-loss was, I think, 90 wins 2 years ago and 89 wins last year, which just shows you that there's, at least in some capacity, bad luck on the Cubs' behalf. So maybe it'll swing back the other way and they'll win 96 this year. Who knows? Who knows? I mean,
Who knows?
They had 30 blown saves. Yeah, I admittedly don't know the roster moves that tightly about what the Brewers and what the Cardinals and the Pirates are done, or maybe lack thereof have done. I mean, obviously the Cardinals lose Paul Goldschmidt. That's a pretty big piece. But the Reds obviously have made a lot of meaningful, like small incremental changes, and maybe they'll have some bigger ones. I think the Cubs have made some major changes. I mean, we're basically just taking the Houston Astros from 3 years ago, and especially if they get Bregman, which I'm not. Me speaking out loud, I don't know if I want the Cubs to get Bregman. I don't know if that's the best move.
Well, just because of age, because of money, why would
he's
you not
projecting downwards, and I think Matt Shaw might be better. If we get Alex Bregman, we're going to have to move Nico Horner. He's been a 4-win player each of the last few years. Also, he plays in Minute Maid Park, which has the Crawford boxes, which is one of the most hitter-friendly parks for right-handed hitters. Wrigley Field is not that.
Yeah.
It's about a 30-foot difference. So I think if he plays at Wrigley Field, you're looking at around 5 to 6 less home runs each year. So now he's a 19 home run hitter, batting .270 and then having about a .310 on base percentage. Now he's a really good baseball player.
Good defender too. I mean,
the Cubs would be better this year with Alex Bregman.
How much would it cost?
$30 million.
$30 million a year.
Which ask Reed how much he cares about his owner's money.
I don't. That's true. But I also, if you're asking me where would I rather spend $30 million? Is it on Alex Bregman or getting a star pitcher? I'd take the star pitcher, which is what they've alluded to. But we'll see. We'll see. I hate every single lineup that I've seen with Alex Bregman in the lineup. I think they all Cubs fans don't know ball. They're putting Seiya Suzuki at 6-hole. And I'm just like, what? By the way, we talked about Gavin Lux and Michael Busch getting the Dodgers scraps. The Cubs got another Dodgers scrap yesterday. We got a 37-year-old reliever who had
a 2 ERA.
He had a 2 ERA last year and a .7 ERA the year before, and they're just you just want them. We got $60. You got to see how much money do you have in your how much money you got in your wallet right now? You can have this guy, and that's what we got. So we keep that's quite literally trickle down. We get the trickle down here in Major League Baseball. The Dodgers would be so good, you might get some good players that just come your way.
The Dodgers do play when the best feeling in the world is when you're playing poker with your buddies, right? You get 6 guys at the table, and you're down. Then you lose a couple guys. You're down to 4 guys, 3 guys, and one of your guys is just barely hanging on. And it comes to a random hand. You don't even have good cards. You got a 7-8 offsuit. Maybe you hope for a straight on the river, but it's. You see what your buddy's got. He's got about $100, whatever you want to say, 100 chips left, and you got 1,000. You're like, well, how much you got in your pile? And then you just put whatever he has in. He's like, you want to play or not? I'll just outbet you. And that's how the Dodgers play baseball. So good for them. It's literally they don't even care about what cards they have. They don't care about anything. They're just going to outbet everybody and just eliminate them that way. It's fun though.
It is fun. Speaking of fun,
baseball's fun.
A really fun ESPN Plus article came out yesterday.
True.
Really fun.
I didn't want to talk about it.
We got to talk about it. This article, admittedly, I don't know who wrote it, but he had the Cincinnati Bearcats, based off whatever bull junk math he had, at a 68% chance to make the NCAA tournament. When this came out, we were like, Elliot, have you seen this? And he's like, how old's the article? I was like, it came out 5 hours ago. It came out yesterday.
Neil Payne.
Neil Payne
wrote
gets
the article.
paid to write articles. So we did a little digging. We grabbed a shovel and we just started digging. We're like, all right, let's see what other places have the Cincinnati Bearcats odds to make tournament. Reminder, this guy said 68%, more often than not, based off the way the season's going, the Bearcats will make the tournament.
Now, to be fair, he said that was an outlier. He said his model's an outlier to all the other models, so he recognizes how crazy he is.
So Bart Torvik, who is kind of regarded as the best projection, tournament and stuff like that. I'm not a, what do they call, bracketologist. I'm not into that whole stuff. But, when Paul worked here, and I listen to his podcast every day, he talks about this stuff, and if you watch other college basketball things, they talk about Bart Torvik quite a bit. Guess what Bart Torvik has the percentage chances of the Cincinnati Bearcats getting an at-large bid?
2%? 1%?
2%? You're guessing 2?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
0.1% is what they have it at. They said it would take 1,000 tries at this season for the Bearcats to make the tournament once as an at-large. They actually have about them a 2% chance to make the tournament, but that 2% is coming from them winning the Big 12 championship.
Right.
As an automatic bid. So Neil Payne is what his name was?
That is Neil Payne.
Here's the explanation.
Bring the pain.
The Bearcats are among the most polarizing teams in our data. Clearly somebody that's never watched a game before. While the ESPN forecast assigns them a 67% tourney chance on the basis of a number 43 ranking in BPI and a manageable 37th ranked future strength of schedule, that's a clear outlier relative to other forecasts. Putting the algorithm aside, they have a lot of work to do to improve upon a 1-7 record against top 50 foes.
I like that he quoted work to do, as if everyone else is saying they have work to do, but I think they're pretty good.
It's insane. I mean, if you watch the Cincinnati Bearcats, you know it's not competitive.
What are we going to win tonight? We're up to 75%?
No, they're not.
What's the line?
2.5. I'd take UCF minus 2.5. I went to a UCF game this year. People forget about that. I went to UCF
in Orlando,
and I liked their roster. I know they're not great, but
they're playing decent in the Big 12.
And this is interesting too. Xavier fans, I saw Mouse Cop do it. Paul texted me too. They're all cheering for UC to win this game because UCF's obviously, fighting a little bit.
Yeah, they're right around Xavier on the bubble.
So we're all cheering for the Bearcats tonight, except for me, who I have minus 2.5 for UCF. And everybody should have it because it's free money.
I checked. If they were favored, you've told me what to do. But as dogs, I was unsure.
I think Vegas is starting to figure it out a little bit. It's taken them the whole year. But they're starting to figure out, maybe this team shouldn't be favored.
Ever.
Yeah. Under any circumstance, ever, should that team be favored. So, good luck. Good luck to the Bearcats tonight. I'm sure tonight's going to be different than the last 10 times.
Mikey Williams is on UCF?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I remember his stories.
You want to know? So, the Cats, from the start of the season to their game against Grambling State on December 22nd, obviously they're playing really well. Only one loss amongst that. They covered in every game but one in that 10, 12 game stretch, whatever it was. And the only game that they didn't cover was the loss to Villanova. They covered, they didn't cover. This has them.
They did not cover against Xavier.
Okay, so this is the results of their game. Sorry, I'm looking.
They did not cover against Alabama or whatever.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I was looking.
They're one of the worst. I believe they're bottom 20 in covering this season.
That was
they're
just
not
results.
the best, but the second or third best under team in basketball too.
Correct. I think they were like 18-3 or something.
Yeah, I was say 3 or 4 losses to the under.
So take the under and take the opponent when the Bearcats are playing.
That's a really, really fun way to operate as a basketball fan. Just auto betting against your team to win and score points.
And they're not going to score or be competitive.
Right.
So they covered against Colorado a couple weeks ago. Their win, right?
They did.
They did cover in that game.
That was a we're back game, I think.
I've never said. I don't think I've ever said they're back. They won that 2-in-a-row stretch there, and it was like, all right.
They are 1-9 in their last 10 games against the spread.
Yeah,
1-9. It's funny. If you watch a lot of college basketball, there's always one team that you can find throughout the year. Like this team literally does not ever cover. I think a couple years ago, the Buckeyes, Ohio State Buckeyes in basketball. They didn't cover 12 straight games.
Wow.
And then they had 5 games for the rest of the year, and then they covered all those, and I was betting them heavy against them. So I didn't learn my lesson. But UCLA unders were famously winning a couple years ago. Now it's the UCLA over. But yeah.
It's 2022 Drake covered 20 games in a row or something.
That's right.
And my favorite is my favorite thing is Sean Connor and Nick Kirby, the SQ guys, the SQ gambling guys. Whenever it's a ranked versus unranked at home, or if the unranked team is playing a ranked team at home, you take that team, right?
Yeah.
It's stuff like that, and they'll be like, and I remember when UC played Xavier, the line doesn't make sense, so you take the Bearcats. UC's favored at home against Kansas, right? They shouldn't be favored. You take the Bearcats. No. All of that might work with every other team in this country. It does not work with the Cincinnati Bearcats. They don't defend. They do not play offense. They do not play fundamental basketball. They're bad. They're really, really, truly bad. Their leading scorer in their last game, the game in which they scored 50 points, had 10 points. And he was, I think, 4 for 14 from the floor. This is a horrible, horrible basketball team. The program is gone. We have to reset it all. I'm just hoping next year we don't lose everybody to the portal. Because that's what it's seeming like to me. I've never seen so many players speak outwardly about effort. Effort shouldn't be a thing that you question.
Right.
You should just show up and try. They don't try. They're down 10 points. I took my dad. I paid $100 for tickets. What a mistake. We went to the game. Had a good time. I like going to basketball games. I like watching the sport. But it's they don't when they're down 8, 9, 10, 5 minutes left. They walk. They don't run up the court. They don't try. They walk up the court. They'll milk 20 seconds off the shot clock before they start to run their shitty offense. It's a disaster. And honestly, I probably won't watch tonight if I'm going to be completely honest. I got better things to do than watch the Cincinnati Bearcats shit around and shoot 22% from the floor and score 48 points against UCF. I don't care that much right now because I know what this is. And to keep having to see Wes Miller and everybody speak at press conferences, Wes Miller, this is, in 14 years of coaching basketball, I've never seen a team not try quite like this team. Like it's I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore because I don't watch for the guys. They don't care. I don't watch for Wes. He doesn't care. I don't watch for anybody. I just sit there and I suffer. So I'm out. Good luck to UCF tonight. I will be betting on them heavily.
Do you have a shadow team in this?
I'm still electing my shadow team. I'm still electing my shadow.
I'm
Kansas because I have a future on them. I always cheer for Texas Tech. I've always liked Texas Tech for some reason. Let's see who else I could bet. St. John's is one. I like Patino.
That game Friday night's going to rock. Patino against Hurley and UConn. They also just announced it's $2 beer night in Stores, Connecticut. So
nice.
That place is going to be rocking. Xavier fans are also trying to find a way to get that fan to Providence when they play each other in a couple weeks. So that would also be something that would be pretty cool.
I don't want Auburn to win. I'm rooting against the SEC, but
I've reached the point now where I'm really worried about Auburn. Never been worried about Auburn in any sport ever.
They're good.
They're taking tournament teams and just beating them by 30.
Doesn't matter who's on the court.
It doesn't matter
Yeah, it
who
doesn't matter
plays.
who's on the court.
It's incredible. Janai Broom is unbelievable. Chadmaker-Pizarro is, 32 years old, so he's pretty mature and playing good basketball. I hate them, but they're really, really good.
Well, if you're worried about Auburn winning it all, you don't have to worry about it because it's Big East. I mean, the Big East, you get to the tournament, they're the only ones who ever show up. All the SEC teams, Big 12 teams, just a Fugazi. The Big East teams are the teams that win it all. So the
Big East team.
Teams. They rotate.
I like St. John's. I'll cheer for St. John's.
Yeah, it's UConn, and then before
I did just put a few. After they beat Marquette, I did put a future on UConn to win it again.
Okay.
They're like plus 3,500.
Yeah, it's way too much.
I'll take that.
But also they won't.
Plus 3,500.
But it's early.
That's what you said. That's what we said last year too.
I don't think anyone said that last year.
I don't know.
I think they were a pretty big favorite the whole time.
I don't know.
Well, the 2 years ago was the one where it was surprising because they were the best team in basketball till Xavier broke them on New Year's Eve. They beat everyone by 25 points. Then Xavier beat them, and then they lost like 6 out of 7 games. And people were like, "Oh, this team's not any good." And then they just continued. Then they got off that ride and just beat everyone by 27, 25 points, including the tournament. So it was just probably one of the best college basketball teams.
You talk about the Dodgers being plus 200 to win baseball. Auburn and Duke are both plus 370 right now to win basketball.
College basketball where you got to win
insane.
7 games, whatever it
is.
7. How many games is it? 6?
Auburn's minus 1,000 to be a 1 seed. That seems crazy early too.
That does seem crazy. Mouse Cop says Aziz double tonight. Yeah, the issue with that is he can't score.
10 minutes played.
Yeah, he can't score and he can't rebound. So I get if the double is blocks and turnovers, maybe you might have a shot.
He's going to dribble the ball 10 times and he's going to play at least 10 minutes. That's his double. When I was a young lad, I've never told a story. When I was a young kid, I was too old to not realize this. It took until I was about 6th grade to think that I thought a double was just getting 2 of each. I didn't think you had to get double digit. I was like in 6th grade, and I played a basketball game, and my dad asked how I played. I was like, I think I had a triple double. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, 2 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. He thought that was really funny, but I was being quite serious, quite serious. But that wraps up today on Off the Bench. Sorry, guys, to throw you through that whirlwind, but we made it through. We got through on the other side. Big League Paul in the chat. Thanks for the tips, Big League Paul.
Paulie Stats in there saying
Appreciate
UC is the 25th worst team against the spread in basketball.
How many Division I college basketball teams are there? Like 400?
Yeah, like 340 or something.
Yeah. Being in the 300s is where you want to be. Xavier make the tournament, yes or no? Will they make the tournament?
Got to win out. I'm gonna say
they don't have to win out.
Well, they got. If they don't win out, then they got to make a little bit of a.
According to the rebound rundown, they got to go about like 7-2.
I'm gonna say yeah, they do. They're playing good ball. Assuming they're healthy.
I hope so. It'd be more fun if they got in.
The thing about
for everyone.
Yeah.
The thing about
Paul, yeah, I'm wearing a Kansas hoodie. I've told you that. Like, I'm gonna continue to wear it. I'm gonna start bringing out every single team in the conference. I've got them all. I've got Baylor. I've got Texas Tech. I can get an Oklahoma State sweatshirt. I can do that. So you just watch. I'll get every single team in this conference. I don't give a damn.
That was close, man.
Well, you ruining the show. I mean, you're just trying to cuss. Golly. What a fun show. What a fun show this was. I would rather a team go 0-162.
I'm wearing my Texas Tech hoodie tomorrow.
Why did you like Texas Tech? Is it a Bob Knight thing? Because you don't seem like you'd be like Bob Knight.
Mahomes?
I liked McClung.
Oh, Mac McClung was fun.
You like Patrick Mahomes? Cliff Kingsbury?
I
These
did not
all
like
seem like not your guys.
Well, I don't root for them in football. It's just a basketball thing.
Okay, fair enough.
I have to pick new basketball teams every year because my team doesn't win.
My shadow basketball team isn't very good, and they're probably going to need to get a new coach here soon. But they're kind of on the bubble, like far, far away. But Hoosiers, go Hoosiers.
Oh, trying to figure out who you're talking about.
Yeah. See you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Box lunch, right?
Box lunch.
Yeah, box lunch in a little bit. See you later.